Hi, welcome back to my channel. So, I just had a random idea flow and I thought I would channel it on the channel. So, pretty much what I realized is, in general, the idea of addiction came to mind. I was just watching a show on addiction, and from being more sober, pretty much what I've learned, I almost wish that I could talk to these people from this show. It's actually called, so I'm watching Prime, Amazon Prime. It's another series by by National Geographic, called Drugged, and there's like only 4 episodes on there, but I was watching the one on meth, and what I realized is, I noticed that it showed an alcoholic and a meth user in this series. Episode. But I realized that it's almost as if I would be a good therapist for these people to just kind of talk to from where they're at. Now, I think these episodes was from years ago, but yeah. Anyways, right now there seems to be a force working against me, because it's almost like it's a hidden secret that, there's a such thing as a functional user. There's a fine line between a functional user versus someone who's completely out of control, and a lot of times it takes being into really the subconscious. So it's so with me during the phase of alcoholism that I had, where I was pretty heavy in alcohol. It started off small, and then one time I got out of jail and I just celebrated, and then I celebrated the next day and the next day and the next day, and it was almost like I just saw this stereotypical response people would give me, literally on rap songs I'd be listening to. It'd be like, we're celebrating with our champagne and shit, and it's I could just see how it works. These people think oh, you bum fucking loser. You're listening to that rap song, drinking, thinking you're cool. You're by yourself out there smoking a cigarette, and you don't even have that much money. And it's just you just see this stereotypical response you get from people. It's but I don't know. I've had theories about this stuff, that it's not as simple as just don't do drugs. It's not that simple. Yeah. 1 second. It depends. So, there's really, right about now, there's really not much to say because of how strong of a force. People are not going to hear it. And I've noticed it's not about incentivizing doing drugs. It's more about just leaving a lane open for people to succeed if they're using drugs. So instead of just deciding that this person's life is void of reality and they just need to step aside and just give up, man. Just give up. Because here's the thing. So you'll be in a phase of alcoholism or cocaine, whatever it is. Pretty much this life is not set up the way the system has been made. is not for people to be using illicit drugs. It's made it very, very difficult. So there's actually like a G code alongside what your mom thinks, what your dad thinks. You know, it's very common. If you live in suburban America, it's not very common that your parents are just a G about it. They're just a G. They just think like, oh yeah, we'll spit, we'll get you Coke, or we'll help you out with this. It's not very common. Usually they'll view it like bummer and crap that their son is using cocaine or anything like that. Any form of, even like mushrooms and acid are just looked at as like people need to study these drugs and learn more about them, so they can know like what more things other than what Google says, because Google does not always speak the truth on this stuff. So there's a few like variables that gets into why it makes like a weight of the system, makes it very, very, very hard for someone who's using these drugs to succeed, which if they didn't do that, then it wouldn't be such a roadblock. You know, and that's really what's happening there, is they've roadblocked the lane. They've left no lane open for drug users to succeed. Even like, you know, someone who's a functional alcoholic, that's great, but when they see that you have a problem, they'll start to curse your life. Like the grid will start to curse you when they see that you're like a negative form, or that you have a little bit of a weight of addiction going on. A lot of people just like to hover over your life and call you a loser. And the objective truth, like what God really probably thinks about that, is like there's simultaneously two things going on there. Like they need to be more positive with you. Like while you're making that mistake with the drug use, you know, simultaneously there's the trauma that you have, the reason why you're using, or you're just one of those people who really just likes the euphoria, likes to party, you know, right, blah, blah, blah. The whole thing, the two different opinions going on simultaneously, the G code and the cancel culture. Two different sides. So they simultaneously, you have this issue, they're blaming you. They don't understand that a futuristic society might have this more figured out. You know? Where we can handle addiction. Like, okay, talk to someone positive. Instead of like either jail or cold turkey or that's it, and we're no contact and all this stuff. That's not healthy for someone. Like they're also at the same time writing off the fact this person probably has a lot of trauma, or just was abused by the fact they got these drugs put in their face, or it was the fault of the dealers. There's multiple things they're not thinking about. They like to sum it up and just blame the fuck out of the person. Meanwhile, you have people who are crazy smart off their amphetamines or whatever they're doing. Where it leads towards like a big time disagreement, or like miniature fights, daily fights, you know, stuff like that. So, what you need to do is it's into tapering the person off and then give them a second chance with that drug, to the point where you actually, at the end of that, where then they can view it healthy. Like, wow, you're down to like, you went from 2 grams of meth a day down to 1.5 grams within a month, if that's how bad it is. And then you went to 1 gram a day within the next month. And then you went and then you went down to 0.5 of a gram, and your tolerance worked out that way. See, it works a little bit of magic there. You know, instead they just want all jail, you know, all bouncy. You know, let's arrest them and stuff, you know. That doesn't help. And then when they get out, they have a meth charge. And then there's like the drama with the community, and then the person's like deleted from the grid, you know, and then they just can't get jobs except for like Kmart and stuff like that, you know. I'm sorry, Kmart. Does Kmart even exist anymore? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That's a bad joke. Someone working at Kmart. I'll work there. Right? Hell no. This charge, that charge, discharge. Right? So, anyways, people are not joking with this kind of stuff. They're not joking. They're not joking with this stuff. It gets... So, yes, there's multiple things. So one example is people that do dirty meth versus clean meth. Like, the clean meth is like doing Adderall compared to doing dirty meth. Now, this conversation here is probably already pretty much illegal. You have to pretty much hustle your addiction. So then, let's get back to, let's not talk about that too much before I get distracted and get caught in some argument with someone. I shouldn't have brought that up. Some subconscious, subliminal subcommittee argument. One of those. Like your text is a thought. One of those. So, it's pretty cringy and all these things. So, yeah, man. So, like, then by the time the person gets down to like 0.5 grams, 0.3 grams, you just inch them, and you need to taper this person off of the drugs in a healthy manner and start speaking to them positive. And then in the end, you need to ask them, do you still want to use this drug, you know? Like, you're basically off, clap, clap, congratulations. You're basically off the drug now. So do you want to go ahead and go sober? And then give them on, then they step down on, there needs to be levels to this stuff. Then they get them onto rockstar energy. And now their brain's going to respond better to the rockstar energy because meth is way stronger of a stimulant. In other words, more euphoric. It's more awesome. It's more addictive. It's more awesome. So then you step them onto coffee and get them, and you wake them up, and then you wake them up every day with iced coffee, you know? If you just have this loser kid, using meth and all this stuff, you know, then get them an iced coffee, a rock star. Congratulations. You've made it to like 1/8 of a gram of meth a day, you know? Like you use like 0.2 of a gram. That's amazing. You just do one little session a day instead of like 10 sessions a day. You know, you've tapered yourself off. You know, you've successfully not just gone cold turkey, but you just practically did it. You know, that's like a utopia there, because instead there's these impossible, like, instead it's like either jail, we can tell on you, you know, we're not going to give you any money, which is going to lead towards them like stealing a lot of times, because if they have any meth left, then they'll just use that drug usually, and then go steal for their next hustle using that energy. So there's a lot of things that the concept that just kids should never use drugs in the first place. It's a revolving door, same cycle. When kids are about 18, you know, it depends on, if you look at like the hood, kids start using drugs at like 12 or 13. It's very common. They're smoking a pack a day at the age of like 14. It doesn't make any sense. And then in the suburbs, kids start using it, like they might start drinking at 17, and then by the time they kind of hit college, like, you know, 19, they might start using cocaine, depending on who it is. They might start, if they're cool or not, you know, I'm joking, but they might start using cocaine at like 19, 20, 21, if they are going to be an addict in the first place. But just, they might start experimenting, raving, doing different things, partying with huge parties by themselves, with little cliques, with little parties, little people, little amounts of people, whatever. Like, But the whole concept, like, they shouldn't touch drugs in the first place, it never works. Because when they get stubborn with that, then it just turns into just slapping on them in the wrist over and over again, because they're going back for the same pleasure-seeking chemicals, seeking the same chemicals that cause them a lot of pleasure. And you're just that character to them. The whole way they view it is, why is this person just trying to stop us? And they basically know. And then they start to mess with the G code. The G code has to do with love within that space of like partying. It's really weird. But the G code, well, there's also other things about violence and different things depending on how you view it. But the G code, part of the belief tends to be that just we should be able to push drugs, we should be able to do these things. So that's that. And you can just tell there's a chat online who wants to argue with me on that. I would assume so. So yeah, so there's two simultaneous things going on there. You probably can work on your addiction and get better at it, but at the same time, it's probably true that they're just bumming you with negativity. And these people are like semi-successful, most likely, like they probably like have money, but let's just say they're not exactly positive people when it comes down to like dealing with this stuff. Let's just say that. Okay, let's just say that they're not exactly being positive with you. It's not exactly good that they're just bumming you with their negativity. Like, they pretty much can see a lot of things going on there with their sobriety and all these things, and their job and all these things. But just calling you a loser is not, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. They have a different upbringing than you, a different situation than you, and to hover over your life while you're using anything, they think they have it so justified that they can just stomp on you and call you names like loser and all this stuff. That's not, I still think that simultaneously, while your addiction is probably not the healthiest thing, they're not trying to help you in the name of saying that they're trying to help you. They're bumming you. So it's just, I've seen that pattern all the time. Like you're 23 and you're 23 and you live at home and you're using your parents' money to buy more alcohol, like, you fucking loser. And like that's not good talk. That's gonna lead them right back to more alcohol. Like, you hypocrite, like, you fool, you know? So stuff like that. Like, this is really for like an addict who's at like a low place in a way, or for those people that need to know how to deal with an addict who don't understand drugs. Like look at like a true, like, raw, uncut, unedited media source to find out the truth about this. You know, the more sugar-coated and candy-coated and mainstream the ideology is with like how to handle addiction, it just gets more stupid. That's because the system is really designed for us not to use meth, not to use cocaine in the first place. And that's just one way to put it. It's just not a good, healthy way to do it. What they need to do is taper you off. What they need to do is first find out if you're actually an addict, and then in a way match you on some form of, you know, it's all about, see how they view it? It's like, that's what it's about. It's more about like just bumming you at that time, and then the job life and stuff. Now, like, there's a lot of different ways to cope with these things. Now, people like to get, I've seen the same pattern of negativity, and I don't know how to explain it. Like, when I talk to people who are addicts, there's been multiple times where I've given people money, and I know this person looked like they were having the most hellish day. Like, there's people just like laying there, halfway awake, just, man, this person looked like crap. It's like, well, I'm just gonna like save their day, and I gave them a 20, which is not like enough money for them to get like it wasn't a 60, it wasn't an 80, I gave them a 20, you know. They probably won't overdose, they probably know what they're doing. I told them to be careful with that money, like, just think about what you're gonna buy or something like that. But I knew it was probably gonna go towards a little bit of H, a little bit of heroin. I could tell based off their demeanor, they're probably using heroin. So I gave him a 20, just because I know they're gonna around something. Now it might be 8 hours, 10 hours, but they're gonna do something to get. They've been using it enough to where they're probably gonna do something to use it soon. It's just a matter of like how shitty it's gonna feel for them in their own present reality. That's all that matters, is how shitty they feel. So I thought I would be the little angel to just help them out, because I understand that even that positivity might get them to think twice about something, you know? So, and that would never be called positivity in the eyes of the old mainstream's ideologies around addiction. So, yeah, there's just things like that don't, I'm trying with this. You saw me like tingle there with the ideas and begin a thought trail. There's just such a strong force. So then when you have a meth charge or a heroin charge or a Xanax charge, you illegally have Xanax, anything, there's a DUI, anything, it just gets more, and it's a downward slope, but at the same time it's set up that way. So they're not looking for you to succeed at the same time. Simultaneously, while you're making mistakes, there simultaneously are these justified, sober people with jobs, and then you have the controllers of the world, or whoever's making these original decisions with the resume and the way things have to be, where there's no room for growth. So then it pushes you further, where there's a few jobs that'll basically hire you. It'll have to be really low key. You have to force being on the straight and narrow to work there. And there's just certain aspects that suck. Or you get on the G code, you start selling drugs, you join a gang, you get into theft by yourself or with other people. There's many things that like don't incentivize things in the right direction. Let's just put it that way. So I'm just tingling those receptors of this ideology here, as like to how things are just not set up for anyone involved with any type of G code to be just succeeding in some form of marketplace like a corporate world. You know, they're gonna have to hide everything. So there's other people as well where you don't really have to ask. They kind of just have the same kind of concept of entrepreneurial decision making, where we need to make some changes here. This is not exactly like the best situation, even though we have these, it's like all in the name of righteousness. Like you have these beautiful houses and these suburbs and this and that, but there's a lot of underlying demons. A lot of like demons that are hidden in plain sight, and random types of demons where things will seem so positive and they'll all be in the name of happiness and utopia, but it's not. The aura is going on there. The aura is happening are not as positive as they seem. Someone's profile could look perfect, and this person is just an angel of light. Remember, the devil will appear to you as an angel of light. Everything in this world, right is wrong, and wrong is right. Okay? So there's too many influences here to just sum it up and always just call your son a loser for using kratom or heroin, or like loser. Like, you need to, like, if you're so positive with your job and stuff, then you would know how to talk to these people better, you know? So there's two different realities taking place there. You're basically like, you probably have a lot of traumas as to why you're using, most likely, or you just really love euphoria a little bit too much. You've been to too many parties, who knows what's happened. Simultaneously, they're not being good with you. They're not handling you well, most likely. They're also being too negative and a little bit on the hypocritical side of things. You see, there's a force there. So from my perspective, it's like, even when you're sober, if you're into like different types of crimes or things, but you're sober, there still will be that type of force from just like it'll work like a negative, as in like a drug withdrawal through like people's mentalities. There'll be like a little withdrawal there from your crime. You know, to be like, let's say you're just into like some internet piracy, like illegally downloading things, anything like that. Like just they'll still bum you. The grid will still bum you with yeah. This, I mean, why get so deep into it, right? Like I just kind of understand. So yeah, how to just beginning. I guess I'll make a part 2 to this if I can, or if I feel like it. Like if I should even just to ice the channel out, right? It's a joke. Like it's a joke. I mean, so like functional users is like a huge conspiracy, basically, that like there's such thing as like a functional user with an illicit drug. You can basically use an illicit drug and be functional. Like that's like unheard of. It's like a secrecy. Like yeah, so this in general, yeah, it's either the person that got away with it for a long time or something like that. Yeah, working a job or something. Like if anyone knew about that, they're screwed. Think about it. It's like Office Space. It's like Office Space. Like, is someone the boss out there who's going like Charlie Brown's teacher? Are you that type of boss who goes home and does math equations on the whiteboard? You know, if it wasn't for certain people's, right? And I'm just the asshole on here, basically judging people, right? So there's a fine line. Our God is a God of vengeance. Okay, he's the God of vengeance. Okay, there's a few forgotten aspects here, which you notice is like a sneaky demons. All right, I'm done. I've given up. I'm just drinking this monster. I'm getting super high. I'm getting high as shit off this monster, and I'm just obviously on here just everything's just negative, bro. Just negativity. Into drugs, negativity, smoking a cigarette, negativity, man. Like how do people, like I don't get it. Like they'll view into, like there'll be people that are like sober who are chronically negative as well, simultaneously, while the drugs you are using are have some demons to them, a little bit of negative energy. They like to go into your reality and glitch you with like a spell you with negativity and say loser, drug user. Like that's never cool. This is like forgotten. This is always written off. There's no social justice in this world. All right, we're done here, Anonymous. All right, peace out. Low key, low.